Hello everyone and welcome to another review. Today we're going to go ahead and review a fragrance from the house of Calvin Klein. The fragrance we're going to touch upon today is called Euphoria Gold. Now, Euphoria Gold was released in 2014. It is technically a limited edition, but I haven't seen any slowdown or any real restriction of it from any other fragrances, so I'm just, limited edition is just a term that they're using as far as I'm concerned. Sure enough, they may stop production of this one, so just keep that in mind, but I've seen it treated like any other fragrance. Now, you can see from the bottle and the colorway, it's in the very same similar situation as the other Euphoria bottles, and I like the way that they're designed. Overall, very positive. Now, the fragrances comes in two main sizes. A 1.7, sorry about that, that's my phone. Let me go ahead and put that off. Comes in two main sizes. It comes in a 1.7 and a 3.4. The 1.7 is going to run you for about $50 retail, and the 3.4 is going to run you about $78 retail. That said, and despite the fact that it was recently released, I have seen it already on discount sites chopped off like $20 off of each price and each wise. So you can definitely get this one for a cheaper amount than it's usually retails for, right? So let's go ahead and get into the notes of this fragrance. The notes of this fragrance consist of, at our top we've got ginger and lemon. For our mid we have honey, basil, and cinnamon. And for our base we have amber, patchouli, and vanilla. So this scent, I went through and I actually, was smelling, going through, and I was like, man, this really reminds me of something, but I couldn't put my finger on it. So I'm smelling it over and over again. And what you get basically when you first spray it is a very nice, I'd say, ambery smell, like a powdery ambery smell. That powder ambery smell quickly kind of secedes, and the powder isn't as strong because it comes in with this honey vanilla smell, and that honey vanilla really gives it a really nice, I guess you could say, a smoothness to it, if you will. It doesn't smell like a candy sweet honey, but it smells closer, sweeter to, I guess you could say more of a honey smell rather than a candied sweet smell, if you will. So it gives it, although it's a sweet smell, it's not too playful of a sweet smell. It still comes across, and I'm guessing this is because of the amber, as a sophisticated kind of sweet smell. Now, going back, I'm like, man, this smell really reminds me of something, and then it was only through going through the Fragrantica board that I was like, oh, and I saw somebody point it out that's where it reminded me of. It reminded me of Dolce & Gabbana, The One Gentleman. This is what The One Gentleman should have been. The One Gentleman is a type of smell that kind of evokes a little lurching to me, but this one doesn't give that at all. It comes across as very well put together, very versatile, something that you can wear easily to work as you can out on a date tonight, or at some night, or going out to the club, going out to a bar, or just wearing casually. It's a good fragrance that you can wear around, and it has the power and projection to do well, in the winter months as it does in the summer months. So this is a nice fragrance that's extremely versatile. Now, I've seen this fragrance compared to Dior Homme, and I can kind of see that, but I don't really think that it's a fragrance that smells like Dior Homme. If I was to say that it's going to smell like Dior Homme, I'd say Dior Homme without the iris note, and the iris note really is what makes Dior Homme to me. So for that, I don't say that it smells like Dior Homme. I really think that it does smell really similar to Dolce & Gabbana, The One Gentleman. Right? So overall, if I'm going to go ahead and describe this fragrance, you're going to get a warm, amber, powdery scent that's going to be brought up by some honey and ginger and on a base of vanilla, if you will. So it's just very scrumptious, if you will, and you might even classify it as a gourmand with the way that it smells. It's a very sophisticated gourmand, though. I go about 3 sprays with this fragrance. This is a good fragrance to wear for, like I said, almost any occasion that you can possibly think of. For the season, any season that you can think of. One thing, may want to be careful when it gets too hot, like I'm saying by too hot, 95 degrees and above. It might become a little cloying, but even then, you can just go 1 spray, and I think you'll be perfectly fine with this fragrance. Age group, any age group can pull this one off. I don't think there's any restriction on it. And performance-wise, I get between 8 and 12 hours. So I'm getting good performance, and it's also projecting off of my skin really well. People are going to smell you, and they're going to like what they smell. Most people, at least. Which brings me to the compliment section, and that's This one got great compliments from people all around. So 2 unsolicited compliments from the time that I was wearing it, and also when I had, gave it to them to smell, a lot of people were floored by the scent. They were like, wow, this smells really good. This is, such a great scent to wear. It's very sensual. Wanted to know what it was so that they could go ahead and pick it up. Overall, I gotta say I'm impressed and pleased that Calvin Klein was able to release such a good fragrance. Now, I still haven't gotten a chance to review Shock. People keep telling me that Shock is a great fragrance, and eventually I'll get to it, but for this one, for now, Calvin Klein Euphoria Gold, I gotta say this is a solid fragrance. Which brings me to the rating. I'm gonna go ahead and grade this fragrance an 8 out of 10. This is what Dolce & Gabbana The One Gentleman should have been. This is a solid fragrance through and through, doesn't suffer from any performance issues, doesn't make me nauseous or anything like that, smells great, you can wear it on a lot of occasions, it's great, it's priced extremely well. I mean, you really can't beat it for that price. Overall, you're getting a solid fragrance round and round for this set. I was almost tempted to give this fragrance a 9 out of 10, but to me it's just lacking a little bit of that oomph, if you will, because at the end of the day, this still does remind me not only of Dolce & Gabbana The One, but it kind of still comes along those same veins as like, initially when I first tried it, it reminds me of 1 Million, Invictus. It kind of comes along those realms. So it's not entirely unique in terms of its overall DNA, but it still is a great fragrance, especially for what you're getting, and especially for the fact that, hey, this is a fragrance from Calvin Klein. And Calvin Klein, I have ragged on in the past that they've released cheap fragrances that just haven't been up to must, or been up to snuff. The Euphoria line, however, is the one line from Calvin Klein that I have been pleased with. I like all of the Euphorias, and this one is no exception. The one thing I would say is I would not really count this as a flanker of the other Euphorias. This is just in a completely different direction as Euphoria and Euphoria Intense. Those two I thought smelled similar. This one, not so much. But that doesn't take away from the fact that it is a great smelling scent. This is a fragrance that I'm on the fence with if I would go ahead and purchase. I think for people who don't have this type of fragrance in their scent mix, I would definitely consider this and definitely recommend you to go ahead and purchase this one. So if you don't have any of those fragrances that I kind of mentioned in, then you might want to go ahead and give this one a whirl. It may be similar enough, but I think it does have its own uniqueness to an extent. All right, so let me know what your thoughts are on Euphoria Gold. It's been out for a while now. I've gotten a lot of requests to review this one, but overall, I am very pleased with this scent, and I think it is a great scent. All right, so thank you guys. Take care of yourselves, and you guys have a great day.